What's up guys? Oh, it's very dark. We're just gonna do a quick cold start because we've got to replace some parts on the Bakkie, and Ethan is my camera assistant today. Yeah, at the back. We're just gonna get a cold start. As I said previously in the video, we're going to be replacing the stub axle, that's this, in the bubble wrap, and in my other box, surprise number box, this is the hub and then some spark plugs. So yeah, let's go unbox and then we can install it on the Bakkie. So open up the stub axle. Alrighty, stub axle. And then the big package. It's the Korea guys. So once again guys, as I said, I get all my parts for the 1400 from Triple S Bakkies out in Selby in Johannesburg. I'll link them down below, their number or their website. Yeah, Ethan's gonna do us the honors. Like, safety first, always cut towards yourself. Luckily it's not enough. So, our new hub, and then the wheel bearing, and 4 new spark plugs, so hopefully she won't miss as much anymore. As you can see, Tinus is already a few steps ahead. The wheel is off already. Hello Tinus.
Hello.
So guys, the man that is helping me out is Tinus. It's my neighbor. This is Tinus. He is a qualified diesel mechanic and he's really the one that's been helping me behind the scenes. This is the first time I'm actually allowed to get him on camera with his permission. He's the one that's been helping with some of the parts that I struggled with on the Ford and on the Bakkie. He really does amazing engine rebuilds. So guys, he does he does engine rebuilds. He actually works a lot on heavy duty mining equipment. So even if you guys are in need of assistance on any mining machinery, hydraulics, whatever it needs, whatever it is, you can check in the link down below or in the description box down below. I'll link his number. If you need to have an engine rebuilt, need a service done, you just need some work done to your car, replacing bearings, whatever it might be, he is the man for you and really does a great job at not taking too much time in repairs. Just over the last 3 weeks he rebuilt 2 engines within like 4 days after getting the stuff back from engineering. So yeah, really been a massive help to me over the last year behind the scenes, but today we can actually record him and get some inside info and knowledge from him. What are we doing here, Tinus?
We're taking off the bearing now, this point. I already removed the wheel, I already removed the caliper completely.
What size spanner did you use? Since I
used the 14 spanner on the caliper, the rear bolts that goes onto here.
Okay.
And then you just need a side cutter. You just need to press the piston back on the caliper so that you can get some play here on your disc, otherwise you won't get it off.
Or back on.
Yeah, or back on. You're going to struggle there. Now we're going to strip this the bearing out, the stub axle off, and then we're going to loosen the bolts on the shock. Then we loosen those bolts. We're going to loosen these 3 bolts here. We're going to pull the complete shock out. So if it's out,
what size?
So this bearing bolt here is a 24.
24.
I'm using a socket here. So that's also going to do your preload on your bearing. After we are done, we're going to set the preload on the bearing to make sure that the bearing is tight enough. It mustn't be too tight, otherwise it will warn. And then
Yes.
So there we just stripped it off. So basically you can see these bearings are a bit worn.
A bit. I think it
We're
is. I
also-
think it was very warm by the sounds it was making. Oh yes.
So you can see there that there was some play there because the bearings looks like it turned inside the stub axle housing. So yeah, we'll strip it and clean it and see what's going on here.
What size spanner are we over
It's
there?
a 12 spanner.
12 spanner. As you guys can see, the Bakkie's gotten some rust damage, so I put rust converting. And to make life easier, it can go. Just use power tools. It makes life faster and easier. So we just need to remove this dust cover for the brake disc off of the old stub axle. And we need to punch out those two studs, and then remove the shock and the spring and the top hat and replace it on the new stub axle. Use proper spring, not like me that uses cable ties the last time I did this. Just so you don't hit yourself in the face with a spring.
So 17.
One bob down.
These bolts are usually rusted and tight. So what you do, you put your screwdriver, usually you get a screwdriver with a metal piece on top. And you just hit it a few times. And then you'll find it better to loosen the screw.
Because they get stuck with dust and obviously over tightening them in the initial installation. This makes it easier to remove that dust cover. Ethan is shy. Stub axle.
Stub axle. So let's get to it and replace the next stub axle.
There we go. Insert your shock shaft and then tighten that locking ring. And then we also have brake cleaner just to clean up all the parts before we put on the new bearings. This is where you use the big bob john, mates. Get yourself some lappies there by your local parts store.
Clean this here because it's always full of black
Grease.
and brake dust and everything.
Especially if your bearing caps have been leaking. Brake cleaner, really.
Spaniard.
Sponjar. It does a good job at cleaning that part. Previously I cleaned it with degreaser, but it actually didn't do anything at all. Yeah, and then you reinstall those 4 little screws to keep in the dust cover.
Job's done, uncle.
They already put a new bearing caps in that you must pump grease in and
Yeah, so that's what these are for. Ethan's gonna hold that. They package it really nicely. So all of these bearings you just need to grease up, and then they got a new circlip as well. Yeah, let's grease these up and then we can put it into the hub and then reinstall it into the Bakkie. An air gun.
Because they sometimes can be a bit stubborn, you know. So this one just makes life a lot easier. So if all your bolt is out, remember there's spring washers at the bottom of it. Just ensure that all the bolts are off completely. Then if you tilt it over, you'll see there's going to be spring washers, it's going to fall out.
Yes.
So this is the old stub axle, the old hub. So yeah, we're not using this anymore. We also need to remove the studs.
Is the new one.
Yes, check out those old studs so that we'll be able to get the wheel back on.
Yeah, so what you do with this, you don't put it on your garage floor.
No, Unless you want your wife mad at you.
So
you
we'll go to the Bakkie. A working vehicle.
a working vehicle.
A working construction vehicle.
Out. You just hit it with a hammer. She'll pop right out.
Just try to hit straight.
Outies.
Put your stud in there. You'll see there's some
Splines.
splines. So if you put it in there, it will make its own splines. But you need to take a proper hammer like this, and then as hard as you can until it's in like that.
Nice and flush.
Okay,
Nice and
yes,
flush. So if you
yes.
pull your wheel start, if you make your wheel tight, you just pull it a bit hard to feel if it's there. If you feel it looks like it's stripping, it's not stripping, it's just pulling in.
Nice. Okay, so you put some grease in your hand and then you push it into that cavity there and make sure that it's all the way. Oof. It's a messy job, guys, so don't worry about that. We'll clean our hands afterwards. You want to squeeze in the grease until you can see it popping out on the front side, just to make sure that we don't have any bearings that run dry. And then you can take it and just turn it a little bit to see. Yeah, this one's almost there, a little bit more. We're just packing the bigger bearing as well. Guys, it's a bit of a messy situation, but the things we do when we work on cars, this is
Kind
not
of, it looks like caramel and I want to eat it very badly.
caramel. Ethan has an obsession with caramel Swiss rolls, as we discovered last night. He cannot go without it. Okay, just make sure it's nice and lubed up, guys, and then we can install it back onto the new stub axle.
So what we did, we tightened the disc onto the hub. So what we'll do is we'll put some grease on the inside here on the housing, and then we'll put the big bearing in, and then we put a seal in, and then we can turn it around and then put the small bearing on and then push it onto the stub axle. Even more, yeah.
Even more, squeeze it in there. Even more.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's fine now.
I think that seal must be very slippery.
So you always need rags to clean everything, your hands.
Yeah, but we worry about cleaning afterwards, eh?
So then you put your big bearing in there, right like that. And then we've got a seal as well. And then we've got a seal. So these seals
Not
only.
a seal, a rubber seal.
So these seals are only going in one way. So this will be your outside, as your spring is on the inside. So you'll put it this way around. So usually you can just take a little hammer or something. You can also, not like me, like a cowboy, use a pin punch. Then you just clean it on the outside here. So then it's ready to be installed. So there, if you put your seal in and you tilt it over, the bearing can't fall out. Then you put your small bearing in, and that's it. So if you're going to push it in, we'll show you. Then you'll see that the grease is going to come all the way to the front. Remember this washer, this is a lock washer that's assisting your nut to lock properly. And it's also sliding it's sliding with your bearing, so you must always remember this washer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this right back up here.
If the footage is shaky, it's because Ethan is shaky. He hasn't had his caramel Swiss roll.
Poor little boy.
Little boy.
So we need a new nut on the one, because the one was a bit stubborn. But you basically just do this. Then I'll quickly go and fetch a new nut. So we've got this jack pipe, which is quite comfortable. So we push it down.
She's in.
She's in. So then you just put your hub back in, okay, your strut back in place with its bolts, which is here on the floor. With its nuts and the spring washer. Just starts in that there, and then at the back there's another one there. 17 sockets. And then I'm going to use the air tool, so sorry for the noise. Okay, so then after that, you put your taro in back. It's also using a 17 nut. Remember guys, there mustn't be a washer on there, it's a taper rod, so no washer. So basically now everything starts here. You'll feel now. You're not going to turn it because your steering rack's on. So what we'll do now is we'll put the new hub, the new hub on, and then we'll just do the preload and show you guys. So you'll see, as we said, if you put your hub on, your grease will come out at the back. So just ensure that it's all the way in. You see your grease is coming out, which is a very good thing. So what we'll do now is we'll put this washer that I've showed you guys earlier, and it only goes one way around, so
there's a little groove in the
which
stub
is
axle
at the bottom like that, so it can only go one way, and you'll feel it's gonna lock there. And then you put your nut, just make sure all the old grease is off it,
with all the sands, you know,
all the sands,
from all the drifting.
and then you put the nut on, and then you can just tighten it by hand first. It is a 24 sockets, so we'll just use a normal 24 socket. Then we'll just tighten it by hand, just not even fuss. You just do this with one finger even.
But Dinus's finger is very strong, so
then you'll feel it's going to be a bit tight. So what you usually do is you pull it a bit fast, which is tight, and then you go just a little bit back, and then you just keep on feeling it. So now it's a bit loose for me. There's actually a thing called a pull scale, a track scale, where you need to adjust your preload with. This is just not a diff or anything that much important, so you can just hand tighten it, and you'll feel if it feels comfortable turning, then you can lock it up with a castle nut. They call it a castle nut.
clean your castle nut because it looks like a crown for kings. And remember our new circlip split pin if it wants to come out of the bag. There you go. Genius is lubricating himself in the eyes.
It's burning like hell. So now you can see it's clean. So now we're going to put it on. You can see there's the hole here. So this pin needs to go in like this.
But first,
So you'll need to put your castle nut somewhere. You can adjust it up and down where your
hole is for
hole
your
is.
split pin. If it doesn't work, like Franz Stein says, cop off and force it.
Little bit so that you can sit lekker. It needs to go in freely, you don't need to force it, like Franz Stein says and Brandon says. So yeah, there it goes in nicely,
Nice and easy.
and then you just tilt it over like this. Just tilt it over again the way like this, because remember you've got a cup cone that goes over there. We'll show you now,
Which we need to fill with grease as well, which will also show. Guys, you take
don't take a lot because otherwise you won't get it on. So this is 100% fine.
this extra lube for the bearing. As it obviously gets hot and expand and contracts, it's gonna lose some of the grease that we slipped into or pushed into. So it's just so there's extra grease on the hub.
So you don't have to use a big hammer, it's just the one that's closest to me at the moment. just make sure it's in nicely, because this one doesn't look like it's in nicely. The scap is not new, so
It was new until we found out that the old hub was damaged. That's why she looks a bit damaged, but it's okay.
So you just basically spray the disc, and then yeah, it will dry out itself, because it's like alcohol. It dries out, it evaporates very fast. And then now we're gonna just quickly clean up here, and then we'll come back to you guys.
So what we spoke about earlier is pushing back the piston, which is now giving us problems.
I did do it though.
We did.
But now it's giving me a
issue
problem. Now you put back the bolt here on the top. You just need to feel it, because you can't see it. So the one bolt's in, and then the other bolt is here at the bottom here. You also just need to play with a bit. So it's in there, it's in on top.
14 spinner,
14 Spanioro.
because you can't get a socket in there.
Yes, there's no space.
Or that other nut, you know, is going there by the backs for the brake line with that spring washer.
So I'll just nip it. Then you just make sure this is tight as well, because if it comes loose, you might have not brakes and go into somewhere.
Yes, like a wall.
Like a wall. So yeah. So both is start there. And yeah.
It was a 12, now it's
Now
a
it's a
13. Yeah, so next time when we work and I don't look like I know what spinners I'm using, it's because we're changing it.
Everything is tight and fast, and how it's supposed to look like.
Everything is fast, brake caliper is back, and now we just need to put the wheel back and then we can go for test drive. If only we had all the parts to fit this little snail onto this. Maybe that will come in the future.
She spins like new one. So then we're gonna lower it.
Ready for a drifty. Guys, we just finished up the install, and as you see, Tinas is driving. So we just testing out the new axle and the hub, but it seems like it's working. Tinas used to work for Professional Drift in South Africa. That's why he knows how to drift, as you can see. A lot better than me on my previous video. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for the support on the new videos with the 1400. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content. As I said, let me know what you guys would like me to do in future, if it's DIYs or service videos or whatever it might be. Let me know, we'll get to it. He's making me feel sad. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. Appreciate you guys, appreciate the support. I will be doing some new merch for the 1400 and for the Ford sometime soon. So if you guys really want to support me and help me to be able to do the builds a lot better and a lot faster to buy parts, please let me know. I will post it on the social medias. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the future. Peace out. Cheers.
Memphis, man.